actually Milhaud was cultural attaché in Rio before, obviously before the capital went to Brasilia. And he lived in, the French embassy was in the Rua Paissandu. And I lived for a half a year in 1978, in Rua Paissandu with a good friend of mine. A small parenthesis, I owe a lot to Brazil because that's one of the only places I could learn to conduct. You know, when you're a young conductor and you come from countries or in Europe where they have a lot of money to pay big conductors, why should they engage a young person? So Brazil was one of the countries where I could really come. They didn't pay me, I just a plane and I stayed with friends, but I could start to conduct and to learn this job. So Rio was an important place for me to do that. And to our friend Darius Milhaud, who was a cultural attaché in Rua Paissandu, where he started to hear Brazilian music, and he got the idea of this Boeuf sur le Toit, which is, for us European, has a lot of Brazilian flavor, Brazilian sounds, Brazilian parfum. Actually, that the older I get, the more I like to have small pieces and say something strong in a small movement, in small pieces. There was an important writer, I don't know who it was, who wrote a long letter to a friend, and on the end he said, sorry, I had no time to write you a shorter one. And because the short one, you have to put everything very clear. It's a short time, you don't have a 1 hour time, no. Few minutes and you said most important things, and that's the same with Milhaud, the same with Grieg also. He uses in the the giro. That's something which I'm not quite sure if we knew it a lot in Europe at that time. There's the influences which we, at least we European, we assimilate with Brazil, with the south, with warm weather, with beach, with dancing, with nightclubs, with whatever you want, and all that. This he finds the way, elegant way, in bring it in there. So it's, for me, it's one of the convincing pieces of this era and of French music of Darius Milhaud, who did a great job, I think.
In the past years, actually, it's coming back to the concert scenes, but of course it's not as well known, and people often judge him as a movie composer, which is basically, he invented the movie music, so he's the reason why we have this beautiful film music. And this concerto, it really does feel a little bit like being in a different world. It's so melodical, it's so incredibly romantic, it's unbelievably beautiful all the time. And what I like about it the most, that there is absolutely no tragic. There's a lot of melancholy or like maybe a little sadness sometimes, but there's no tragic, and you can just come on stage and just enjoy the music from first to the last minute. I start pretty much alone. There is not a lot of interaction in the very, very beginning, and then it just slowly becomes all together, and then there's this big boom at the end of the first page. I mean, and then you can hear the whole beauty of this concerto.
It sounds more to me like perhaps instead of yes. That's the characteristic. I don't mean that it's through that it becomes bad. That's not what I mean. It's just that that's the character of the piece. It's a tricky piece, also for conductor. It's because it's a labyrinth in many ways. It's a strange adventure. Every time it's a new adventure with a new soloist to get to discover this piece. What's the role of the solo? You know, in a Tchaikovsky, in a Sibelius, in whatever, Wallenkötter, Brahms, it's a soloist, and then comes the orchestra, and then we try to. Here, it's playing together. Sometimes it's with him, then without. Then he has to look at. It's an eternal search for something. It's difficult to describe, but perhaps this problem to describe it describes the best the way it is.
The second movement is absolutely amazingly beautiful, and the last movement is like being on a weird trip somewhere, because it's so it really reminds you of a cowboy movie or something like that. But I mean it in the best possible way. It's beautifully written, and it gives you so much energy. It's incredible. Oh yes, I'm so lucky to be playing a Stradivarius. It's put together from two different time periods. So the top is from 1734, and the bottom part is a little bit earlier. So they are thinking that he just found a top later to put on an already existing instrument. It's supposed to be put together by him, and it's generously loaned to me from Beers International Violin Society. I'm very, very thankful to the owners of the instrument who live in London, and Niemann family. I'm very, very, very happy and so thankful to them for giving me this possibility to play on such an instrument.
Again, actually, is, for Ibsen, the story, and I think everybody should read, perhaps after the concert or before they go home, and try to find it. I have the books, and I read, and it's only a play. He made a play, Grieg, on this music, and those is suites, 2 suites, small pieces, which he took from the play, and which he put together, and we'll make a story of 8 different movements, where all the important moments of this story come in. Peer Gynt was he's not a very good character. He was quite not ideal or no. He was not a good boy. He was actually a crazy fellow. But mainly the story. He, as many perhaps other people, he thought that actually everywhere else is better than at home. everywhere else. At home, this girl, my mother, this. I want to go away because that's where happiness is. And so he goes away, and he needs a lot of time to discover that actually, stupid, it's at home. The good, the wonderful thing. You just need to open your eyes and see what's around you. But it's fascinating also Ibsen how he tells it. There are dramas, then it's very beautiful moments of intimacy, then he's crying of the death of his mother, then it's all the different things. And we try in those 8 movements to do continuation. After one movement comes immediately the second, the third one, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Music, hate, love, lust, tears, suffering, is relatively easy to transmit. It's very difficult to explain in words, and that's the great things of music. Music can express things words cannot express.